Commander Zekthon sat in the witness chamber of the Galactic Council. His forearms rested on the crystal podium in front of him. The old warrior had fought in many battles across the galaxy. He had seen many things, but nothing had prepared him for what he saw when his people tried to conquer Earth. The council chamber was full of different alien species. They all wanted to hear his story. They wanted to know why the mighty Voraki Empire had retreated from human space. They wanted to understand why his people now refused to go anywhere near Earth. Zekthon's purple scales turned pale as he began to speak. His voice was steady, but everyone could hear the fear underneath. 3 years ago, my people thought humans were weak, he said. They had just started traveling between stars. Their ships were small. Their weapons seemed primitive. We had conquered 100 worlds. We thought Earth would be easy. The commander paused and looked around the room. Every eye was on him. We were wrong, he continued. We were so very wrong. He explained how it all started. Human colony ships had entered space that the Voraki claimed as their own. It was near a star system called Proxima Centauri. The humans had built a small colony there called New Haven. It had maybe 50,000 people. Farmers, scientists, families with children. The Voraki High Command decided to teach these humans a lesson. They sent 40 warships to destroy the colony. Zekthon commanded the fleet himself. He expected the humans to surrender immediately when they saw his ships. But humans don't think like we do, Zekthon said. When we arrived at New Haven, they had only 12 ships defending it. Old cargo vessels with weapons attached to them. Their leader was a man named Captain Jack Monroe. He had gray hair and tired eyes. I thought he would beg for mercy. The commander's scales shifted color again, showing his distress. Monroe contacted us on the communication channel. He spoke calmly. He said, "You have 10 minutes to leave our space. After that, we will defend ourselves." I laughed at him. How could 12 converted cargo ships fight 40 warships? But Monroe wasn't bluffing. When the 10 minutes ended, the human ships did something unexpected. They scattered in all directions. The Voraki fleet tried to chase them, but the human ships kept changing course randomly. They moved like insects, never staying in one place. Then the boarding pods came. Small, fast vessels launched from the human ships. Each one carried 10 to 15 human soldiers. The pods attached to the Voraki ships like parasites. The humans cut through the hulls and got inside. We had energy shields and plasma weapons, Zekthon said. The humans had metal projectile weapons and explosives. We thought that made us superior, but humans fight differently when they're desperate. He told the council about Lieutenant Amy Foster. She led one of the boarding teams that got onto his flagship. She was a small woman, maybe half the size of a Voraki warrior, but she moved through the ship's corridors like a ghost. Her team planted explosives in the engine room. They destroyed the main power systems. They killed warriors who had trained for decades. Foster lost her left eye in the fighting, Zekthon said, but she kept going. She tied cloth around her head to stop the bleeding and continued her mission. When we finally cornered her team, she smiled at us. She actually smiled. Then she showed us the detonator in her hand. She had turned herself into a living bomb. The Voraki had to let Foster and her team leave. They couldn't risk losing the entire ship. As her escape pod left, she sent one message back. "Next time, bring more ships." The battle for New Haven lasted 6 hours. The Voraki fleet lost 8 ships. The humans lost 9 of their 12 defenders, but the colony survived. Monroe's remaining ships were so damaged they could barely fly, but they had won. After the battle, we learned something important, Zekthon continued. Every human ship had a self-destruct system. If we had destroyed them in normal combat, they would have exploded with the force of nuclear weapons. They would have taken our ships with them. The humans call this a dead man's switch. Even in death, they keep fighting. The commander explained how this was just the beginning. The High Command was angry about the defeat at New Haven. They sent a bigger fleet, 200 ships this time. They wanted to destroy Earth itself. But the humans had been preparing, Zekthon said. That's another thing about humans. They learn fast, they adapt. Every battle teaches them something new. He described arriving at Earth with the invasion fleet. The planet looked peaceful from space. Blue oceans, white clouds, green and brown land. 7 billion humans lived there. The Voraki expected panic when their fleet appeared. Instead, they got a message from Admiral George Hall. He was an old human, probably 70 Earth years. He spoke from a space station orbiting Earth. "Welcome to the solar system," Hall had said. "You are now in a minefield. We have placed 20,000 nuclear mines between you and Earth. Some are real, some are fake. You won't know which until they explode. You can try to reach our planet, but ask yourself, how many ships are you willing to lose?" The Voraki scanned for the mines. They found thousands of metal objects floating in space. Each one could be a bomb or just a piece of junk. The humans had turned their own trash into a weapon of fear. "We tried to clear a path," Zekthun said. "We destroyed hundreds of objects. Most were just empty metal boxes, but every 10th one was real. We lost 3 ships before we stopped trying." The council chamber was completely quiet now. Every species there was imagining what it would be like to face such an enemy. Zekthun continued his story. He told them about the first ground assault on Earth. They landed troops in a place called Texas. It was supposed to be empty land, good for establishing a base. The humans there didn't even wait for their military, he said. Regular citizens with personal weapons started shooting at us. Farmers with hunting rifles, store owners with shotguns, even children threw rocks at our warriors. Every human seemed ready to fight. He remembered one specific incident. An old human woman named Betty Collins lived alone on a farm. When Voraki troops came to her house, she invited them inside. She offered them food. The warriors thought she was surrendering. Then she locked the doors and set her own house on fire with them inside. "She died to kill 3 of our warriors," Zekthun said. "One old woman with no military training. She chose death rather than let us take her home." The commander looked at the council members. He could see they were beginning to understand. Humans weren't just another species to be conquered. They were something else. Something dangerous. "That was day 1 of our war with humanity," he said. "It only got worse from there. Every day they found new ways to hurt us. Every death made them angrier. Every victory made them more determined." He ended this first part of his testimony with a warning. "My people have conquered many worlds. We have fought warrior races and peaceful races. We have never encountered anything like humans. They don't just resist. They make war into something personal. They make it about survival, not just of their species, but of their way of life. And they will do anything, absolutely anything, to win." The council chamber remained silent as Zekthun prepared to continue his testimony. They were beginning to understand why the Voraki Empire, one of the greatest military powers in the galaxy, had run from Earth. Commander Zekthun took a moment to drink some water before continuing his testimony. His 4 hands shook slightly as he held the container. The council members waited patiently. They could see this was difficult for him. "After our first encounters, we thought we understood human warfare," he began again. "We thought they were just stubborn defenders. We didn't realize they were studying us, learning our weaknesses, planning something much worse." He told the council about Haven Prime, the largest human colony outside Earth. It had 2 million people living there. The planet was rich in minerals that the Voraki wanted. The High Command decided to take it by force. "We surrounded the planet with 100 ships," Zekthun said. "We demanded surrender." The colony's leader was Colonel Frank Baker. He was a retired soldier who had become a teacher. He taught history to children. The humans thought he was done with war. Baker's response to the surrender demand was simple. He said no. Just that, one word. No. The Voraki began orbital bombardment. They had done this to many worlds before. They would destroy military targets first, then infrastructure, then they would land troops to control the survivors. It was a strategy that had always worked. But Baker had been busy, Zekthun continued. In the 3 days we gave them to surrender, he had organized the entire colony. Every person had a job. Every building became a fortress. Every street became a trap. The commander described what happened when the Voraki troops landed in the capital city. The streets were empty. No humans anywhere. The soldiers moved carefully through the abandoned buildings. They found shops with food still on the tables. They found homes with toys on the floor. But no people. Then we found the first message, Zekthon said. It was painted on a wall in the human language. It said, "Welcome to Hell." We didn't understand what it meant. Hell is a concept from human religion, a place of eternal suffering. We learned its meaning soon enough. The empty city was a trap. Baker had evacuated everyone through tunnels dug by mining equipment. But before leaving, they had turned every building into a weapon. Some had explosives in the walls. Some had poison gas in the ventilation systems. Some had floors that collapsed into pits filled with acid. We lost 1,000 warriors in the first hour, Zekthon said. We didn't see a single human. They were killing us with their absence, fighting ghosts. Then the real horror began. At night, small teams of humans came out of the tunnels. They moved silently through the darkness. They killed sentries and disappeared. They destroyed equipment and vanished. They left messages written in Voraki blood. The messages were always the same, Zekthon said. They said, "You are not welcome here," over and over, on walls, on vehicles, on the bodies of our dead. He told the council about Private Lisa Grant. She was 19 Earth years old. She had joined the colony militia only 2 weeks before the EO invasion. She had never killed anyone before, but when her squad was trapped in a chemical factory, she made a choice. Grant's squad had been planting explosives, Zekthon explained. Our warriors cornered them, 6 humans against 50 Voraki. Grant told her squad to run. She would hold us off. They said she couldn't possibly survive. She said, "I know." Grant had barricaded herself in the factory's control room. She started mixing chemicals, creating toxic gas. She sealed all the exits except one. When the Voraki warriors broke into the control room, she was standing next to a massive tank of chlorine gas with a detonator in her hand. She was crying, Zekthon said. This young human girl was crying, but her hand was steady. She said, "My family lived in this city for 3 generations. You think you can just take it? I'll burn it all down before I let you have it." She detonated the chemicals. The explosion created a toxic cloud that spread for miles. The Voraki had to evacuate the entire industrial district. It remained poisonous for months. Grant died, but she had made a quarter of the city uninhabitable for both sides. This is what humans call scorched earth, Zekthon explained. They would rather destroy everything than let an enemy have it. They will poison their own water, burn their own food, demolish their own homes. Just to deny them to us. The commander's voice grew quieter as he continued. He told them about the underground war. Colonel Baker had moved the entire population into the tunnel system. 2 million, people living like animals in the dark. But they didn't give up. They turned the tunnels into an underground city. Children went to school in caves, he said. Doctors operated in old mine shafts. They grew food using artificial lights. They built weapons from mining equipment. They created a civilization in the darkness, and every night they sent soldiers up to kill us. The Voraki tried to flood the tunnels. The humans had installed drainage systems. They tried poison gas. The humans had air filters. They tried to collapse the tunnels with explosives. The humans just dug new ones. We controlled the surface, but we couldn't control the planet, Zekthon said. Every day, more of our warriors died, killed by bombs hidden in food supplies, shot by snipers who disappeared into hidden tunnel entrances, poisoned by chemicals added to our water. He told them about one particular night. The Voraki had finally located a major tunnel entrance. They sent 500 warriors down to clear it. They found families hiding in the caves, women, children, elderly humans. The warriors thought they had won. But Baker had planned for this too, Zekthon said. The civilians were bait. When our warriors were deep in the tunnels, the humans collapsed the entrance. Then they flooded the tunnels with fuel and set it on fire. 500 warriors burned alive in the darkness. The council members looked sick. Even species that had seen war were disturbed by these tactics. The humans who died in that trap knew they would die, Zekthon continued. 50 civilian volunteers stayed behind to make sure our warriors followed them deep enough. They sang songs as they burned, human songs about freedom and defiance. After 6 months on Haven Prime, the Voraki controlled only small parts of the surface. They couldn't find the human population. They couldn't stop the attacks. They were losing more warriors every day. Then Baker sent us a message, Zekthon said. He offered to meet for negotiations. Our commanders thought he was ready to surrender. They were wrong. Baker came to the meeting alone. He was an old human, maybe 60 Earth years. He had scars on his face and hands. He walked with a limp from an old injury. He didn't look like a threat. He sat down across from our generals and pulled out a device, Zekthon said. It was a detonator. He explained that the humans had spent 6 months planting nuclear devices under every Voraki position. If he pressed the button, or if his heart stopped beating, the bombs would explode. Baker's terms were simple. The Voraki could leave Haven Prime alive or they could die there. There was no third option. He gave them 1 day to decide. Our generals didn't believe him, Zekthon said. They thought he was bluffing. So Baker detonated 1 bomb as a demonstration. It destroyed our main supply depot and killed 200 warriors. Then he asked if we needed another demonstration. The Voraki left Haven Prime. They had no choice. As their ships lifted off, they saw humans emerging from the tunnels, hundreds of thousands of them. They had been underneath the Voraki the entire time, waiting, watching, planning. Baker's final message to us was simple, Zekthon said. He said, "We are not warriors. We are teachers and farmers and doctors, but threaten our families, and we become something worse than warriors. We become the thing that warriors fear." The commander looked at the council. He could see they were beginning to understand the true horror of human warfare. They didn't just fight to win. They fought to make sure no one would ever attack them again. Haven Prime was where we learned that humans have a saying, Zekthon concluded. They say, "You can kill us, but you cannot defeat us." I thought it was just words. But after Haven Prime, I understood. They meant it literally. They would all die before they let us win. Commander Zekthon's scales had turned almost white now. The stress of remembering these events was clearly affecting him. But he continued his testimony. The council needed to hear everything. "We thought we knew about warfare," he began. "The Voraki had been fighting wars for 1,000 years. We had better technology, better weapons, better ships, but humans don't fight fair. They change the rules." He explained how everything changed after Haven Prime. The humans knew the Voraki would come back with a bigger fleet, so they started preparing. But not in the way anyone expected. 3 months after Haven Prime, we captured a damaged human ship, Zekthon said. We thought it would help us understand their technology. We were partly right. We learned something that terrified us. The ship belonged to Chief Engineer Paul Rodriguez. He was just a civilian engineer before the war. He fixed mining equipment and cargo ships. But when the war started, he became something else. Rodriguez had taken our shield technology from destroyed Voraki ships, Zekthon explained. But he didn't just copy it. He improved it. He made it better. In 3 months, this human had advanced our technology by 50 years. The commander showed the council a recording. It showed a human ship surrounded by a strange, flickering shield. Voraki weapons hit the shield and just disappeared. The energy didn't bounce off or get absorbed. It just stopped existing. Rodriguez called them null shields, Zekthon said. He had found a way to make small pockets of space where energy couldn't exist. Our weapons were useless against them. But that wasn't the worst part. Rodriguez had shared this technology with every human colony. He had posted the instructions on their communication network. Any human with basic engineering knowledge could build these shields. We had spent centuries keeping our technology secret, Zekthon said. Humans gave their best weapons to everyone for free. They wanted every human to be able to fight us. He told them about the battle at Station Delta 7. It was supposed to be an easy target, a mining station in an asteroid belt. Maybe 5,000 humans lived there. Commander Kate Murphy was in charge. She was a mining supervisor, not a soldier. Murphy Had 2 weeks to prepare before we arrived, Zekthon said. She used mining lasers to carve tunnels through every asteroid near the station. She turned rocks into weapons. When the Voraki fleet arrived, they found the station surrounded by thousands of asteroids. Each one had been hollowed out and filled with explosives and metal fragments. Murphy had turned the entire asteroid field into a giant minefield. But that was just the beginning, Zekthon continued. She had mounted mining equipment on the asteroids, drilling lasers that could cut through ship hulls, mass drivers that launched rocks at incredible speeds. She turned tools into weapons. The battle was a disaster for the Voraki. They couldn't move their large ships through the asteroid field without hitting mines. They couldn't send small ships because the mining lasers would destroy them. They were stuck. Then Murphy did something we didn't expect, Zekthon said. She broadcast a message on all channels. She said, "You want our station? Come and take it. We'll wait." The Voraki sent in their elite warriors, the Black Talons. They were the best soldiers in the Empire. Each one had genetic modifications and powered armor. They had never lost a battle. They met Sergeant Bill Cooper and his squad, Zekthon said. Cooper had been a normal human soldier, but after losing his arm in the first battle, he had volunteered for something the humans called Project Augment. Cooper and his squad had replaced parts of their bodies with machines. Cooper's left arm was now a plasma cannon. His eyes had been replaced with sensors that could see in every spectrum. His bones had been reinforced with metal. They called themselves the Hellhounds, Zekthon said. They weren't fully human anymore. They had made themselves into living weapons just to fight us. The battle inside Station Delta 7 was brutal. The Black Talons had better training and equipment, but the Hellhounds knew the station. They knew every corridor and maintenance shaft. They had spent weeks preparing kill zones and ambush points. Cooper fought 3 Black Talons at once, Zekthon said. He lost both legs and his remaining human arm, but he kept fighting. He was just a torso with a weapon attached, dragging himself forward, still shooting, still trying to kill our warriors. The Black Talons won that fight, but barely. Of the 100 elite warriors who entered the station, only 12 survived, and they found the station's core had been rigged to explode. Murphy gave them 10 minutes to evacuate. As our warriors left, Cooper's voice came over the communication system. Zekthon said. He was still alive somewhere in the station. He said, "Tell your empire that Earth has millions more like me. We're waiting for you." The station exploded exactly 10 minutes later. The blast destroyed 3 Voraki ships that couldn't get clear in time, but the worst was yet to come. Zekthon told the council about Dr. Emma White. She had come to space to study alien life. She wanted to find new medicines and understand different biologies. She was a healer by nature. The war changed her, Zekthon said. When she saw what we did to human colonies, something broke inside her. She stopped trying to heal and started trying to kill. White studied captured Voraki bodies. She learned how their biology worked. She found their weaknesses. And then she created something horrible. She called it the Purple Death, Zekthon said. It was a disease designed specifically for Voraki. It only affected our species. It was transmitted through air, through touch, through food. Once infected, a warrior would die in 3 days. The first outbreak happened on the battleship Pride of Voryak. One infected human prisoner was brought aboard for interrogation. Within a week, half the crew was dead. The ship had to be abandoned and destroyed. White didn't stop there. Zekthon continued. She created different versions, one that destroyed our scales, one that attacked our nervous system, one that made us allergic to our own food. She turned our biology against us. The humans started using biological weapons in every battle. They would coat their bullets with pathogens. They would release viruses in captured Voraki ships. They would poison water supplies on occupied worlds. We had to start wearing full environmental suits at all times, Zekthon said. We couldn't eat food from occupied worlds. We couldn't even breathe the air without filters. The humans had made everything poisonous to us. The commander told them about the development of human combat AI. Not just computer programs, but artificial intelligences designed specifically for war. The humans called them war minds. Each war mind could control thousands of drones, Zekthon explained. They could process battle information faster than any living being. They could predict our strategies and counter them before we even acted. The first war mind was called Atom. It was created by a team led by programmer Carl Johnson. Atom controlled the defense of 3 human colonies simultaneously. It could fight on multiple fronts, coordinating millions of defensive systems at once. We tried to destroy Atom by attacking its central processor, Zekthon said. But the humans had made copies. When we destroyed one, 5 more activated. They had made their weapons immortal. The Voraki tried to use their own AI systems to fight back. But human war minds were different. They learned and evolved during battle. Each one developed its own strategies and personality. One war mind, called Eve, became famous for psychological warfare, Zekthon said. It would broadcast the names of Voraki warriors' families on their homeworld. It would describe what would happen to them if the invasion continued. It made our warriors think about their own children. By this point in the war, the technological gap had closed completely. Humans had caught up to centuries of Voraki advancement in less than a year. But they hadn't stopped there. They kept innovating. Every human seemed to be an inventor now, Zekthon said. Farmers created new types of explosives from fertilizer. Teachers designed computer viruses. Children built drones in their schools. Their entire species had become a weapons laboratory. The commander looked exhausted. Telling this story was taking everything he had. But he wasn't done yet. We had started this war thinking we were superior, he said. We had better technology and more experience. But humans taught us something. Technology doesn't win wars. Innovation does. And humans never stop innovating, never stop learning, never stop finding new ways to kill their enemies. Commander Zekthon closed all 4 of his eyes for a moment. The council chamber was completely silent. When he opened them again, his scales had turned the deep black color of Voraki distress. What I must tell you now is the worst part, he said. This is when we learned that humans have no limits. When pushed far enough, they will do anything at all. The Voraki High Command had decided to end the war quickly. They assembled the largest fleet in their empire's history, 500 warships, 2 million warriors. They would attack Earth directly and force humanity to surrender. We thought if we threatened their homeworld, they would give up, Zekthon said. Other species always did, but humans are not other species. Admiral George Hall commanded Earth's defenses. He had only 50 ships to defend the planet. The odds were 10 to 1 against him. Any reasonable commander would have negotiated or surrendered. Hall's first message to us was strange, Zekthon remembered. He said, "Welcome to the grave you've dug for yourselves." We thought he was trying to sound brave. We didn't understand. He was being literal. When the Voraki fleet entered Earth's solar system, they found something unexpected. Hundreds of civilian ships were heading toward them. Cargo vessels, passenger transports, even private yachts. They weren't armed. They were broadcasting surrender signals. We thought the civilians were fleeing Earth, Zekthon said. We let them approach. That was our mistake. The ships were part of Operation Pyrrhic Victory. Each one had been fitted with a nuclear reactor set to overload. The pilots were volunteers who knew they wouldn't survive. Captain Susan Lee led the first wave. Lee was a cargo ship captain, Zekthon explained. She had 3 children on Earth. Her ship approached our flagship claiming engine problems. We let her dock to take prisoners. 30 seconds later, her reactor detonated. The explosion destroyed the flagship and 3 nearby vessels. But that was just the beginning. Every civilian ship was a bomb, and they kept coming. We started shooting them, but there were too many, Zekthon said. For every one we destroyed, 3 more appeared. Humans were literally throwing themselves at us, using their own bodies as weapons. He told the council about the pilot messages. They intercepted. These weren't soldiers. They were teachers, doctors, engineers, parents, regular people who had chosen to die to protect Earth. One pilot was a woman named Helen Parker, Zekthon said. She was broadcasting to her daughter as she flew toward us. She said, "Remember, Mommy loves you. Remember, I did this for you. Remember to be brave." Then she detonated her ship against our cruiser. The Voraki lost 30 ships in the first hour. They hadn't even reached Earth yet. But the real surprise was still coming. When we finally got past the suicide ships, we found Earth's Actual defenses, Zekthon said. Major Danwright had prepared something special for us. Earth had hidden thousands of nuclear weapons. Not the clean fusion bombs that spacefaring civilizations used. These were old fission weapons. Dirty bombs that spread radiation. They had been banned by galactic law for centuries. Humans had lied about destroying these weapons, Zekthon said. They had kept them hidden for 300 years, waiting for a day like this. Wright's defense plan was simple and horrible. If the Voraki landed on Earth, he would detonate nuclear weapons in every major city. He would poison the entire planet rather than let the invaders have it. He showed us the detonators, Zekthon said. 20 billion humans would die, but so would every Voraki warrior who landed. Earth would become a radioactive tomb for both species. The council members looked shocked. Even the warrior species among them couldn't believe what they were hearing. But that wasn't the worst part. Zekthon continued. The humans had created something they called Project Lazarus. Dr. Carl Martin had led a team of scientists in uploading human consciousness into computers. When a soldier died, their mind could be saved and put into a machine. They could keep fighting after death. The first time we encountered this was on the moon base, Zekthon said. We had killed all the defenders, every human was dead. But the base kept fighting. The weapons kept firing. The systems kept attacking us. The dead soldiers' minds were running the base. Their personalities, their memories, their hatred, all preserved in computer systems. Corporal Tony Garcia had been the first successful upload. Garcia had died defending the communication center, Zekthon explained. But his consciousness was uploaded to the base's combat systems. He controlled every weapon, every door, every system. One dead human was fighting off 100 Voraki warriors. When the warriors finally reached the control room, they found Garcia's body still at his post. He had been dead for 3 days, but his voice came through the speakers. He said, "You killed me once. Want to try again?" Then he activated them. Base's self-destruct, Zekthon said. His digital ghost laughed as the explosion killed every warrior in the base. The humans had uploaded thousands of consciousness copies. Every ship, every base, every defense platform had dead humans controlling them. They couldn't be intimidated. They couldn't be tortured. They couldn't be stopped except by complete destruction. We were fighting an army of ghosts, Zekthon said. Dead humans who refused to stop fighting. They would ram ships into ours. They would overload reactors. They would do anything because they were already dead. The battle for Earth's orbital space lasted 5 days. The Voraki fleet was slowly winning through sheer numbers, but the cost was horrible. They had lost half their ships. 1 million warriors were dead. Then Admiral Hall revealed Earth's final defense, Zekthon said. He called it the Samson option. Earth had launched hundreds of asteroids toward their own planet. Each one was fitted with engines and nuclear warheads. If the Voraki won, Hall would crash them all into Earth. The impacts would cause a mass extinction. Nothing would survive. Hall showed us the calculations, Zekthon said. The asteroids would hit Earth in 30 days. Once launched, they couldn't be stopped. He had already given the order. The only way to save Earth was for the Voraki to leave immediately and help destroy the asteroids. It would take both fleets working together to stop them all. Hall was forcing the Voraki to choose, leave and help save Earth, or stay and rule a dead world. But there was one more thing, Zekthon said. Hall told us about Project Vindication. The humans had launched relativistic kill vehicles toward the Voraki homeworld. Ships accelerated to near light speed, impossible to stop or detect until too late. They would arrive in 50 years. Unless the Voraki left human space forever, their own world would be destroyed. The missiles had already been launched, Zekthon said. The only way to recall them was with codes that would be given if we signed a peace treaty. Hall had turned our own future into a hostage. The Voraki High Command had no choice. They ordered a retreat, but as the fleet prepared to leave, they received one last message from Earth. A little girl named Sarah Chen spoke to us, Zekthon said. She was maybe 8 Earth years old. She said, "My daddy died fighting you. My mommy died fighting you. If you come back, I'll fight you too. We all will, forever." The commander paused, his voice breaking slightly. That's when I understood, he said. We weren't fighting their military. We were fighting their entire species. Every human was a soldier, every adult, every child, even their dead. They had turned their whole civilization into a weapon. Looked around the council chamber, making eye contact with each species representative. The High Command asked me what it would take to defeat humanity, he said. I told them the truth. We would have to kill every human, every single one, and even then their uploaded ghosts would keep fighting. Their automated weapons would keep killing. Their poisons would keep spreading. We would have to destroy ourselves to destroy them. Zekthon's testimony was nearing its end, but the horror in his voice remained. Humans have a saying about war, he said. They say if you want peace, prepare for war. But they don't just prepare, they transform. They become something that exists only to destroy their enemies. They become death itself. Commander Zekthon stood up from his seat for the first time since his testimony began. His forearms hung at his sides and his scales had returned to their normal purple color. He looked tired, older than when he had started speaking. The war ended, but not with victory for either side, and he began. It ended with understanding. We finally understood what humans really are, and they made sure we would never forget. The Voraki fleet retreated from Earth as agreed. They helped destroy the asteroids that threatened the planet. It took both fleets working together for 20 days to stop them all. During that time, humans and Voraki worked side by side. It was strange, Zekthon said. The same humans who had fought us so viciously now worked with us to save their world. Captain Rachel Moore commanded the joint operation. She treated our warriors with respect. She even saved 3 of our ships when their reactors failed. But the humans never let their guard down. Every human ship kept weapons locked on Voraki vessels. Every communication included reminders about the relativistic kill vehicles heading toward the Voraki homeworld. Moore explained it to me personally. Zekthon said, "She said, we can work together, we can even be friendly. But you tried to take our homes, you killed our families, we will never trust you again. And if you ever threaten us again, we will end you." After the asteroids were destroyed, the formal peace negotiations began. Admiral Hall met with the Voraki High Command on a neutral station. The terms were simple, but harsh. No Voraki ship could enter human space for 100 years, Zekthon said. Any violation would trigger the activation of the kill vehicles. Earth would share no technology with us. There would be no trade, no communication, no contact. But there was one more thing. The humans demanded that the Voraki warn every other species in the galaxy about humanity. They wanted everyone to know what happened when Earth was threatened. Hall said something I'll never forget. Zekthon continued. He said, "We never wanted this war. We begged you to leave us alone. You forced us to become monsters. Now everyone needs to know what kind of monsters we can be." The treaty was signed. The Voraki received the codes to stop the kill vehicles. But the humans had one final surprise. They gave us a gift, Zekthon said. A data package containing the cure for every biological weapon Dr. White had created. They could have let us suffer from the diseases forever, but they gave us the cures freely. When asked why, Hall had responded simply. The war was over. Humans didn't hold grudges against entire species. They just wanted to be left alone. But then he warned us, Zekthon said. The cures were for the weapons they had already used. They had developed much worse things they had chosen not to use. He showed us a list. Weapons that could destroy stars, viruses that could rewrite DNA, nanomachines that could devour entire planets. The humans had developed these weapons but hadn't used them. They wanted the galaxy to know they had shown restraint. They could have been much worse. The message was clear, Zekthon said. They had fought with one hand tied behind their back. If anyone forced them to fight again, they wouldn't hold back. The commander told the council about the aftermath. The Voraki Empire, which had conquered 100 worlds, never invaded. Another planet after Earth. They became defensive, paranoid. They built shields around their worlds and stayed within their borders. Other species heard what happened, Zekthon said. The Krex Empire, which had been planning their own invasion of Earth, canceled it immediately. The Draconi Confederation declared humanity a protected species, not to be contacted or threatened. But the humans didn't become conquerors. They didn't build a military empire. They went back to being explorers and traders. They rebuilt their destroyed colonies. They continued their scientific research. That's what scared us most, Zekton said. They could switch from peaceful to devastating in moments. One day they're teachers and doctors. The next day they're designing weapons that break the laws of physics. You never know which humans you're dealing with until it's too late. He told the council about John Bailey, Earth's new ambassador to the galactic community. Bailey was a diplomat who had never fought in the war. He spoke softly and smiled often. He seemed harmless. But Bailey carries a device with him always, Zekthon said. He showed it to me once. It's a small black box. If he dies unexpectedly, if his heart stops beating, it sends a signal to Earth. Within minutes, humanity would know he had been killed. Within hours, they would be mobilizing for war. Every human ambassador carried such a device. Every human colony had similar systems. Attack one human anywhere in the galaxy, and all of humanity would know instantly. They had turned themselves into a hive mind for war, Zekthon said. Separate individuals who could instantly unite against any threat. They called it the Human Defense Network. The commander shared intelligence reports from the years after the war. Humanity had shared their military technology with other peaceful species. Small, weak civilizations that had been victims of conquest for millennia suddenly had human weapons. The Yellowstone incident showed what this meant, Zekthon said. The hegemony tried to invade a small agricultural world protected by only 300 humans. The farmers had human weapons. The hegemony lost 5,000 warriors and retreated. Earth had become the galaxy's protector of the weak. Any species that asked for protection got it. Human military advisors would arrive and teach them how to fight, how to resist, how to make invasion too costly to attempt. They were spreading their doctrine across the galaxy, Zekthon said, teaching every species their way of war, creating a galaxy where invasion and conquest were no longer profitable, where peace was enforced by the promise of devastating war. The council members were shifting uncomfortably. Many of their species had conquered others in the past. The idea of every weak species having human military doctrine was terrifying. But here's what truly haunts me, Zekthon continued. During the peace negotiations, I asked Admiral Hall why humans fought so differently from everyone else. His answer changed how I see the universe. Hall had explained that humans evolved on a death world. Earth had predators, diseases, natural disasters. Humans spent millions of years surviving things that tried to kill them. They didn't become apex predators by being strongest. They did it by being smart, adaptable, and absolutely ruthless when threatened. Hall said humans have two modes, Zekthon said. Creation and destruction. They prefer creation. They want to build, explore, learn, love. But when forced into destruction mode, they commit completely. No half measures. No mercy. They destroy until the threat is gone. The commander looked at each council member carefully. The last thing Hall told me was this. Humans have a children's story about a sleeping giant. A huge, powerful creature that just wants to sleep peacefully. But if you wake it up, it destroys everything in rage. He said humanity is that giant. And we had woken them up. Zekthon moved to the center of the council chamber for his final words. My warning to all of you is simple, he said. Leave humanity alone. Do not test them. Do not threaten them. Do not even think about conquering them. They have shown us what they can do when threatened. But more importantly, they've shown us what they chose not to do. He pulled up a holographic display showing Earth and its colonies. They could have used their weapons to conquer the galaxy, he said. After defeating us, they could have become the dominant military power. But they didn't. They went back to being peaceful. They chose not to be monsters. But that's a choice they make every day. And they can change their mind in an instant. The commander's final words echoed through the silent chamber. Humans have a saying. If you want a friend, be a friend. If you want an enemy, we can do that too. The choice is ours. Choose wisely, because humanity doesn't give second chances. The Voraki Empire learned this the hard way. Don't make our mistake. As Zekthon left the council chamber, he left them with one final piece of information. Ambassador Bailey asked, "Me to tell you all something," he said. "Humanity is always watching, always listening, always prepared. They hope for peace, they work for peace, but they are always, always ready for war. Remember that. Remember us. Remember what happened when we forgot that humans are the children of a death world. They are not prey. They are not weak. They are the sleeping giant. And they are awake now." The council chamber remained silent long after Commander Zekthon left. Each representative was thinking the same thing. They had thought humans were just another young species to be conquered or ignored. Now they knew better. Humanity had announced itself to the galaxy not with words but with actions. They had shown that they could be peaceful friends or terrifying enemies. The choice was up to everyone else. The Galactic Council voted unanimously that day. Earth and all human colonies were declared neutral zones. No military ships from any species could enter human space without permission. Any attack on humanity would be considered an attack on the Council itself. It was the first time in galactic history that such protection had been given to a single species. But it wasn't really protection for humanity. It was protection from humanity. The galaxy had learned what humans were capable of, and somewhere in the void of space, the relativistic kill vehicles continued their journey toward the Voraki homeworld. Deadmans,